So a lot of people have been floating AOC as a potential challenger to Chuck Schumer in New York. Now, Chuck Schumer is actually up for re-election in this next election cycle in 2022. So he's probably going to be facing a potential challenger. But the only really serious potential challenger that could really try to challenge him, and even this would be really suspect in terms of winning, is AOC. So a lot of people are thinking maybe she should run. Some people hoping she will run. Some people thinking she will run. Some people trying to troll Republicans, that is, by trying to stoke divisions or whatever. But when asked about challenging Chuck Schumer, she's basically dancing around the question as to leave an open answer. And I think I know why she's doing this, for a couple of reasons. And I'll explain those in a second. It says, AOC this week did not rule out a 2022 primary challenge to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, saying she is still deciding what her plans for the future are. I'm not playing coy or anything like that. I'm still very much in a place where I'm trying to decide what is the most effective thing I can do to help our Congress, our political process, and our country actually address the issues of climate change, healthcare, wage inequality, etc. She told the newly launched publication Punchbowl in an exclusive interview. Asked whether her decision would be affected if Democrats looked likely to lose their House majority, AOC responded, I'm not sure about that either. For me, I don't make these decisions based on these short-term factors. 30-year-old Congresswoman went on to say she's thinking beyond a 2-year time frame, saying, if I want to have a child, I would want my child or my nieces or nephews to have guaranteed health care by the time they're my age, and freedom from want. I'm also very indecisive. As to her relationship with Schumer, she told the newsletter, he and I have an open relationship. We speak to each other regularly. Asked if she believed the minority leader is doing a satisfactory job, Ocasio-Cortez called that a hard thing to say. We've had to deal with the fascist president and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. There's this thing, are we doing a good job? There are things you can do in the minority. There are also things you couldn't do with this minority because Senate rules changed. So basically what I think she's trying to do is she's trying to leave a sort of outlet there to let her make a decision. Now, I think she should run against, if she's going to run, I would rather her run against Kirsten Gillibrand, who's up for re-election in 2024. Now, Gillibrand is definitely a lot, I would say a decent amount more progressive than Chuck Schumer actually is. But regardless, I think that Chuck Schumer may be a difficult task to actually take out in an election. I feel like beating Kirsten Gillibrand would be a lot easier. And so if she were going to run, that's the route that I would personally take. But what she's trying to do here, I feel like, is trying to leave open a possibility for her to run. But also I think it's to leave that little, sprackle of sort of threat of leverage, essentially. And so, hey, if you don't move this way on this issue, I might run against you. If you don't follow these things that I and the progressive movement are pushing, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to present a challenge. And remember, when she challenged for the seat she's in now, Joe Crowley was like third in line for Speaker of the House. Today, we might be talking about people in Congress, Democrats, wanting actually Joe Crowley over Nancy Pelosi. But he's out of office now, so that's not really an option for them. Although, according to actual civics, he could be Speaker, but you get the point that I'm trying to make. So she's trying to leave that thread of leverage open, right? If you don't do this, there's potential I'm going to run against you. Now, there's a trend that we noticed recently, which is that that being Chuck Schumer, has all of a sudden been sounding like Bernie Sanders, saying cancel student debt, having all these very progressive opinions on climate change and healthcare and things of that nature. Now, we are going to be in a pretty good position, if these Georgia elections do turn out in favor of Warnock and Ossoff. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that, there'll be a lot of progressive stuff that goes through, but at least if the Democrats have a majority there, which they will with 50-50, because the VP breaks ties, there should be no excuse for really getting progressive stuff through the Senate. Now, there's Joe Manchin, there's these other people as well who are not really progressives, which is going to make it difficult, but numerically speaking, Democrats could get it through, and so there might be a possibility of certain things actually getting through, and there won't be the excuse of, Donald Trump this or Mitch McConnell that, and so it'll bring a lot more of a fertile ground, and progressives in the House will have a lot of leverage in terms of a very slim House majority, and having more than enough to basically force Democrats, assuming no Republicans are voting in favor of the legislation, to come to the negotiation table and be more progressive. And so clearly, all of these people in New York, Jamal Bowman, Mondaire Jones, AOC, right? All of these people have been pushing Cuomo, Schumer, but they're pushing Schumer in that direction, the progressive direction, because of the movement that Schumer is seeing. So he's moving more in that direction. He's being pressured. He's seeing all the people around him lose their jobs, right? All these New York, like all these seats that are being taken out, like Elliot Engel. He might have been the longest serving, like active in the House, I believe, and he was taken out. So a lot of these old guard are being taken out in favor of more diverse, black, women, people of color who are really running in these areas on progressive ideals. So he sees that, and those kinds of things affect you when you're a Chuck Schumer. So he's feeling the heat. He's feeling the pressure as well. So is AOC going to run against Schumer? I would not be too shocked. I would be a little bit surprised, but I won't be too shocked because she's not going to stay in the House forever. We all know that, right? She has way too much political capital to do that. It doesn't make sense for her, right? She has the real chance of running for Senate. Now, if you run against Schumer, you can't hold your House seat, so you're going to be out of office if you lose. So that's really a big risk there, and that's what makes running for the Senate so hard. And we saw that happen to Joe Kennedy this time around with Ed Markey, right? So what we have here is a situation of AOC potentially really challenging Chuck Schumer. I don't know whether it's going to happen. Honestly, I don't. What I can for sure tell you is AOC is not going to stay in the House forever. I don't see her being in the House for more than this term and then maximum 2 more after this one, so a total of 3. But I'm thinking after her next 2 terms, she's probably outie, is what I'm guessing. Like I said, she has too much political capital for that to just be in the House. But it is going to be interesting to see what happens here, whether or not she's going to challenge Chuck Schumer. And I don't know if it's really the best way to go forward, to be quite honest with you, because Kirsten Gillibrand is up for re-election in 2024. She performed very, very poorly, actually, in the election for president. A lot of people don't like her because of the Al Franken situation. So I do personally believe that Kirsten Gillibrand is a much, much weaker opponent, and so you'll be able to take her out a lot easier than you would Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer, I do believe, going to be difficult. It's on the level of a Nancy Pelosi type of person in Congress, in government, period, as a Democrat. But she's thinking long picture, is what it appears. So is she going to run for that spot? I don't know, but she's definitely leaving the option open for sure.